All right, what's up and what's going on, y'all? It is 6:42 and it is September the 12th. It's a Friday, and right now I'm looking at the weather conditions for our area, and it made it look like, this is Corpus, man. You never know what's going to happen with the weather here. I know on the island right now, when I walked outside, I seen stars, I seen mixture of clouds, but nothing that made it look like it was going to rain. But right now, as I'm looking at this, it says rain heavy at times, highs in the low 90s and lows in the upper 70s. It looked like it's showing 7 a.m. rain, 7:13 sun, 8 a.m. rain, 9 a.m. rain, 10 a.m. rain, 11 a.m. rain, 12 p.m., 1, 2 rain. And then 3 p.m. after that, it seemed like the sun and everything's supposed to clear. So it looked like we're supposed to have rain from 7 a.m. all the way up to 2 p.m. And that's supposed to be it. Now, does that mean here? Probably not. It probably means in town, because the rain is selective. They can say it's going to rain here, but it doesn't mean it's going to be out there where you fish and trying to enjoy your day. It's just different. I know, sometimes you see it and you're like, hey, man, it's supposed to be raining down in Corpus. And then you look up and you like people saying they was out there fishing. They said, didn't y'all get rain? You say, no rain came this way. It was out in town. That's where the rain was at. So it is what it is. But anyway, what's going on? I hope everybody's enjoying their life, man, for the most part. I hope you're enjoying family, loved ones, and things like that. This is fishing report for this week. Pretty much Spanish Mac has been heavy, right? Not big ones, in between. I think earlier during the week, I seen a couple landed over 20 inches, right? But for the last couple of days, I've been seeing small. So we're talking about 14 and as big as maybe 16, something like that. But earlier during the week, this is Friday, so between Monday and Tuesday, I did witness people that were fishing for them. They were hitting some nice size ones, and they looked like they were almost small kings. That's how big they were. So those 2 days was very good and plentiful for size-wise when it came to Spanish. Mangrove snapper. Mangrove snapper are still being caught down at the end, and you can get those on Mahara or you can get those on pin perch. If you are good at throwing a cast net, then I would highly recommend that you go and do that. You can get them in the grass beds and things like that. If you're familiar with the area, stay away from the rocks, because the rocks are not your friend. So if you see fish on top of the rocks, be careful when you throw it, because that's almost $70 to $90 you're about to lose. If you got a net like mine, it's $70 to $90 for those nets. I pick them up at Roy's whenever I bust mine. Matter of fact, I need to replace one, because over the summertime, it's had its fair share of snags. So basically, I saw the bottom of it and it needs to be replaced. So I'll probably get around to doing that. But yeah, off the Mahara and off the pin perch, you can get mangrove snapper along with reds. I would recommend that you can do a Carolina rig if you like doing that. I try the knocker rig because that's almost my go-to when I'm fishing close to the rocks, because I rarely get hung up when I go with that rig. Knocker rig, I've shown that before. The knocker rig is the one where you take a slip weight. In my definition, you take a slip weight, and I use a single clamp swivel. And that is what I use. I use that reason because it keeps the fish from swallowing my hook. When I put a single swivel clamp on the end of it with my hook, the fish rarely ever swallow it. And I think with the knocker rig in general, they really don't get a chance to swallow because that weight is sitting right on top of the hook. Some people put the weight right on top of the hook, but me, I like to use that single swivel clamp just to give me a little more strength when I'm fishing. Let me see. So Mahara pin perch for the mangrove snapper, and those are down at the end on the inside. And if you go back 30 yards, you can get them on that. You also can land them on shrimp. But the only thing about the shrimp, everything loves shrimp, and there's a lot of bait fish that is in that area. So when you casting, if you lucky, you'll get them. But if it's a lot of bait fish around, they're eating off the shrimp just as fast as it hits the water. It's like being at a freshwater lake and you're fishing for bluegill, and that is what you're going to get. So yeah, once it hits the bottom, they see it and they'll get to it before the big dogs do. So you can take a chance. But if you're good, if you're not good at throwing a cast net, then you can go to Clem's, right? Everybody's familiar with Clem's. They're the only ones I deal with for the majority of getting my bait. Now, Bait Bucket and the other ones, they're good. They're very good. But Clem's is closer to me because I live on an island. So Clem's is right there for me to go to, and that's where I go get my bait from. But they have pin perch, and they sell at $5 a dozen, right? So you can get you a couple of dozen of that and have 24 of them, and you should be good. Make sure you got an aerator, though. Make sure you got an aerator. Make sure you got a live well. A lot of people come out there without that, and you need it. You actually do need it because the fresher the bait, the better opportunity you have for catching fish, right? You're out there to fish, so, you might have to spend a little bit, get it out the way. It'll pay for itself in the long run, but your fish will stay alive, and that's what you want, to have live bait. To have the better opportunity of catching fish, at least in my opinion. I like my bait live. But they are hitting that. Let's see, what else? The Reds are hitting pin perch as well. They're hitting the Mahara. Reds hit almost anything, man. They don't care. If it's mullet, they're going to hit it. I haven't been having that much success with the mullet at the jetties. I don't know if it's because there's just so much of it around that when you put it on your hook, it's just camouflage with all the rest of it, right? So when I use pin perch, I've had better action. I've had better chances of catching my fish, and that's just the way it's been. Let's see what else. Water conditions. The water conditions have been a bluish green for the most part. Some days it's laid down. Some days, if the wind is blowing, then of course it's going to have some movement, but no more than 3 feet as far as the waves. But down at the end, if it's 10 to 12 miles per hour, then you're going to probably have to deal with that spray that's coming over it. And it's not bad. Every now and then you get a surge or something like that. So I highly recommend that if you got anything that you may lose to water, that you protect it. Me, myself, I like to use Ziploc bags. I put my phone in that. I put my keys in it. And I put everything in a 5-gallon bucket, and I put it below everything else. And I'm using a cart with my cooler, right, that has ice for my fish and everything like that. And that's a good thing to have because sometimes, man, I've done it already where that water comes over the side and it surges. I lost my bucket. I lost my phone. Luckily, I had my keys in my pocket, and I was used to putting my keys in that bucket. And for some reason that day I didn't. So I got lucky. And it took my whole bucket and took it over the side. I lost everything. I had to re-up all my hooks, my weights, and everything that I had in that bucket for that day. Plus I lost my phone. So I had to re-up everything and get back on, to get back online. I had to go get a new phone and everything. So that was a lesson learned. I didn't take my cart that day. So I always take it with me now. I don't care about it if the water's flat. I'm still taking my cart. And it's good to have anyway. It makes it more easier. I got my measurer on top of the cooler for measuring my fish and things like that. I have all that access right there on top of that cooler. And you can get those at Walmart. That's where I got that from. It's an Igloo. It's a big cooler, and I could it goes up to 30 inches as far as measuring your fish. And you can just measure right there on top, cut the middleman out, throw your fish into your cooler with some ice, and then your fish will stay fresh. Also, if you're not doing this, I recommend bleeding out your fish. I learned that this year, the whole time. I mean, I've been fishing all my life. And I've never bled out my fish whenever I caught them. And then my uncle, I was talking to him, shout out to my Uncle Phil, and he was asking me about was I bleeding my fish, and I said, no, I'm not bleeding anything. I just, do whatever. He said, man, start bleeding them. So I started doing that, and sure enough, the fish taste is a lot different. You don't have to worry about dealing with a lot of blood when you clean them, so it's already done, and you just fillet them and you're done with it. So I've just got on board with bleeding out my fish. We talked about the water conditions, bluish green. For the most part, it's been staying up, even if it's saying low tide for this week. From my seeing, it hasn't never gone out to what you consider low tide, when you can see those rocks and things like that, and then the water's moving out. Only thing I've noticed is it drops a little bit, but then it comes right back in just as fast as it goes out. So the water's been up all week. Let's see. In a nutshell, that is pretty much it. I don't know if I left anything out. If I did, then ask me a question and I can get that answer for you, especially if you're visiting and you're trying to get. Oh, you know what? I would say the spoons. Um, I've got these as well. I got big spoons, I got medium sized spoons, but those small spoons has been the trick for the Spanish mac. If you're throwing a big spoon, I have not seen any reds react to it, no black drums react to the spoons, nothing like that. It's been mainly just a small gold lures that fishermen have been using down at the end for the Spanish mac, and they've been hitting them. I will say, if you're going to use fluorocarbon, try to step up to about a 40 or 50. I'm going out today to get mine because my line got cut 3 times yesterday on that 20 pound. I mean, he went through it like it was nothing to it, and my line just went slack. Never felt it snatch or anything. It just limped. And that was it. So they cut right through the line. So I'm gonna up my game because I want to give me some Spanish. I love Spanish mackerel. Very nice, tasty fish, and they're plentiful. You can get those. They're easy to clean, the whole nine, and you can put those in a bag. And when football games on and stuff like that, hey, grab out a bag of them and then make you some Spanish mac, whatever you want on the side, and then you can sit there and watch the games and eat at the same time and enjoy your day. So another thing is, stay supportive of one another when you're out there fishing, man. Don't act like you own the place. Some people try to come out there with 4 or 5 rods and try to line up the whole area. You only probably need about 1 or 2. That's just my opinion, man. Because the jetty is what it is. It's nice to fish. It's not that big as far as a lot of space compared to somewhere like a Port A. Port A is big, a lot of room, a lot of space. But the South and North Jetty really doesn't have that much room for a comfort zone. So I come with like 1 or 2, and then depending on how many people are out there, then I'll just use 1 rod if necessary. I'll use 2 if it's not that many people around, if I can get away with it, and I'll go with 2 because that water's moving anyway. And if you're using 1 rod, then you can control that. But when you're using 2, it's kind of hard to control because the water's going to be moving. So it's going to take your line, and if you're not able to, keep an eye on it because you got 2 rods out, then 9 times out of 10, one of your lines is going to be doing what it's doing, and the other one you may be holding in your hand and controlling that. But it's kind of hard. So you got to, I'll always just try to go out. I've been fishing it for years, man. So I basically know once I see the crowd or whatever, I say, okay, it's a 1 rod day because I'm going to have to hold it. But if there's nobody out there, then I say, okay, now we're going to go 2 because there's nobody here. But when people start showing up, then I usually go down to 1 because it's just more easier. You don't want to foul up a lot of lines, especially if you're using braid. Braid line, man, once it gets tangled up, it's a nightmare trying to get it loose and trying to get it unraveled from somebody else's line. And that does happen a lot. And a lot of times it happens because people are using like 3 and 4 rods. And I mean, whatever floats your boat, do what you're going to do. You're grown. Do it how you want. Just saying that is what takes place, though, a lot of times. People get crossed up and, you deal with what you have to deal with. Also, rigging. Carolina rig. Use slip weight. Anything from a 1 to a 2 ounce should be good for right now because the water has a surge to it, and 2 ounce weights for me have been working. Slip weight, Carolina rig. Also, I think I talked about it already, but also the knocker rig works. You can use that. It does work. It does keep you from getting hung up a lot compared to the Carolina rig. But because the water's been up so high, I haven't been really getting hung up on my Carolina rig. I don't think I lost. Did I lose the weight? Yes. No, I didn't lose anything. I lost a hook yesterday. It got hooked up, and so I still have my weight on the end of my rod, but I did break the hook getting it out of a rock. I knew I was taking a chance when I tossed it. I was trying to hit into a mangrove hole, and I said, man, if nothing hits it, I'm probably going to get hung up. And sure enough, I did. So when I brought it in, I just got the hook. The hook broke, and I got my weight back with the line attached to it. The hook came off. So that is a chance you take with the Carolina rig. Let's see. Mangrove snapper, red, mackerel. Let's see. No black drum. I haven't been seeing any black drum. If anybody been hitting black drum at the South or North Packery, then hit me up in the notes and say, yeah, I've been hitting black drum. But I haven't been seeing that. I think those are going to be back in the flats, back by the 361, and then further back in the Packery, probably over there by the Starbucks and all those things. If you're familiar with the island where Starbucks is at, you're probably seeing black drum being caught in those areas. But as far as the jetty, I haven't really seen any black drums being caught, at least this week. I think maybe a week and a half ago was the last time I saw somebody hit black drum, but this week nothing like that. And it's probably because nobody's fishing with the shrimp a lot. It's mainly just a bunch of pin perch and the maharas for myself. So black drum for the most part, you rarely ever hit them on things like that, but you will hit them on shrimp, whether it's dead or if you're using fish bites. So let's see. That's about it, man. Just stay supportive of one another. Try to anyway. I love fishing that jetty. To me, it's almost like a family-oriented affair when you get over there, man. You don't even have to know anybody. It just naturally seems like it happens. Once you get into and around people, they just automatically, know you there to fish. And if you need help with something, I've done it where somebody needs something, and hey, if I got certain hooks or whatever, I hook them up and say, use this, try this, and I've also had people do the same thing with me. So it does happen, man. To me, it's just one big family when you're out there. That is peace when you're out there fishing in that area. So I love it. But anyway, with that said, I'm out. That is, I hope, closest I can get to the fishing report of what's taking place at the South Packery Jetty. Light tackle. I would say do that. Like, if I have to say anything to sum it up, use light tackle. That's another good way of saying it. And try to use pin perch or mahara if you can get a hold of them. With that said, I'm out. Y'all be cool. Peace.